Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
ABC?
Uh-huh.
Sing it. A, B.
C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, P, E, I, R,
S, T, U.
E, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, O,
H, I, J, K.
L, M, P,
Q, R, S, T, U, V, W,
S,
Y.
and C.
Now,
I know my ABCs.
next time, won't. Keep singing.
With me.
Yay! How about monkeys jumping on the bed?
3 monkeys jumping on the bed. One full of red puppy head. Mommy told Doctor and the doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed.
Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Representative Kevin Avard. That little video that you just saw was, Ed, this was your daughter.
That's correct. My youngest daughter. She was 2 years old in the video.
Right. And talk a little bit about that. How did you just decided to tape that and share that with us? Why did you do that?
I often wish that I had pictures of me as a kid, and seeing what I look like as a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old. Technology today. I take a lot of opportunities to take pictures, videotape my children. That particular day, my daughter and I, cold winter evening, spending time in the house. She was being a little bit of a clown, and I just thought it was really cute, her singing the ABC songs, and I wanted to encourage it. I mean, this is beginning stages of learning, and I've always tried to be active in my daughter's life, to teach her counting,
Right.
singing, ABCs.
But one of the things that's come up now is, and we have it for our caption here, is that you joined the long list of victims of the New Hampshire Family Courts. And what county are you from?
I'm in the Cheshire County.
Cheshire County, here in New Hampshire. Right now, you get to see your daughter through video. That you've kept. You get to look at them. You get to look at pictures of her.
I do.
And you periodically get to see her.
That's correct.
Right.
There was a 9-month lapse where I did not see my daughter, and
9 months.
9 months with no contact. Well, I take that back. 4.5 months with no contact. I was ordered to do supervised visitation. I managed to do 2 supervised visits.
Right.
The second visit, at the conclusion of the hour, the staff gives a 5-minute warning, which I got on my knees and helped my daughter get her little jacket on and told her I love her. She said, I don't want to go. I want to stay with Daddy. And I said, I know, sweetie, but Mommy's waiting. Daddy will see you next week. No, I don't want to go, Daddy. The staff member in the ARC Center stood up, grabbed my daughter by the arm, told her, we don't have time for this, and dragged her out of the room, kicking and screaming for Dad. They put her outside of a closed door, no exaggeration, maybe 5 minutes with her screaming for her dad. I went to the door, turned the doorknob. At that time, the security staff came at me, said, what do you think you're doing? Long and short of it, they took away my supervised visitation for my blatant disregard for their rules and regulations.
Are there rules and regulations written in statute?
Their rules are not. It's, I would almost call it a subcontracted service that the court uses to, you know, there's no plan of action. You go through this many supervised visits, you're going to build your way up to unsupervised, and then eventually equal custody. There's none of that.
All right, let's get back to the beginning here. So we started off with the little picture of your daughter. We understand that you had supervised visits, but that's not the beginning of this story. Can I ask you, did you commit a crime? Are you right now a felon?
I'm not a felon.
Okay, did you seek to hurt your children, or were you convicted of hurting your children at any point?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Now,
So
for
your
full
father-
disclosure, I mean, there were some issues with the ex-wife.
Right. Well, I'm just trying to, you know, get the important things out of the way here. Have you ever been adjudicated as an unfit father, unfit parent, unfit guardian at any point?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so right now, how old are your children?
I have a 4-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old.
And in that time span of being their father, you've never been prosecuted, you're not on some list of violent offenders?
Absolutely
Or
not.
child abuse?
No.
Anything like that?
No.
All right, so let's get to the beginning. You went through a divorce.
It's not complete yet, but
All
yes.
right, you're going through a divorce.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that without getting into too much detail, but what are some of the highlights here? Why are you going through a divorce, if you don't mind me getting to there?
And, you know, I want to state, I don't want to disparage my ex. Obviously, the relationship ended because there were irreconcilable concerns involving adultery and some other things. We've gone through 2 reconciliations. I mean, we attended, which I initiated through Antioch College. They have a family counseling, marriage counseling service. That didn't last long. We also went to a local church and had a pastor sit down with us for about a year, you know, week after week. We attempted to rebuild or redefine our marriage. It didn't work. At one point, there was concerns of drug abuse, and a divorce was actually filed. My concerns were the drug abuse with the ex using, and they ordered a hair follicle analysis. 3 days before the actual court hearing, my ex came to me, trembling, crying, telling me she was so sorry for what she had done. She couldn't help herself. I remember holding her, telling her, we'll get through this. You know, it's a mistake. We'll work through it. A few weeks later, she left again, went back to the same scenario. And I believed in my commitment for my marriage, better for worse, rich or poor. I mean, we all have issues. I thought it was something we could save. The last time she left was October 2010, moved into her own apartment with the words to me that she was working on herself, and I supported that. It was 3 months after she was out, Christmas time. I'd asked her, I said, hey, can we do something to get the kids together to make something sort of normal for them? I had concerns that she was cheating on me. I picked up her cellular phone. That's how I had caught her before. She did not want me to see it and literally attacked me. I went down without any kind of resistance. It was in a rented office space I do for my appliance business. One of the neighbors came over and asked, you know, what are you guys doing here? This can't go on here. She got up, left. I went over to the police department to put a no trespass order. I didn't want to disturb my neighbors anymore.
Kind of like a restraining order?
Not even a restrainer, just a no trespass order that would keep her from showing up to my office uninvited, unexpected, you know, out of respect for my neighbors in the office complex I was in. When I got there, she was there. You know, in response to an earlier question, I was charged with criminal mischief for breaking her phone. The phone was underneath me. As she pulled it out from underneath me, she pulled it in half. She stood over me and kicked me in the head and the face. I had blood coming from my mouth, a black eye. The police officer arrested her for assault. She pled guilty, was assigned to an alternative sentencing program, which is supposed to give her some help with some of the issues. She was ordered random drug testing through that also. But as a result of all this, I was referred to the Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention, which is based in the...
Because you grabbed the phone?
Well, I was referred there because I was the victim of an assault. It's
okay.
a victim's advocacy.
All right.
Now, so I called them first. They literally hung up the phone on me. I went down there personally, and they ushered me out of the building. They would not help me. The Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention was formerly known as the Women's Crisis Center. They changed the name, but not the attitude. Oddly, they took my wife and walked her through the system. Within a matter of weeks, they had given her they say they don't assign attorneys, but they helped her to find an attorney that would take her case. Pro bono? Pro bono, exactly. And as soon as there was an attorney assigned to the case, everything flip-flopped. The little video that you had seen was taken about 2 weeks before my daughter's 3rd birthday. I dropped my daughter off to daycare like I did any other day, the day before her birthday, with my promise to my daughter being ice cream, cake, friends, presents. Give me a yay, Daddy. I returned at 4 o'clock to pick my daughter up like I always did, and I was met by the staff with a piece of paper. It was an a joint ex parte motion filed by both the guardian ad litem and the petitioner, the ex.
For the viewers, tell them what ex parte means.
I don't know the exact definition in Latin, but it's an emergency hearing.
Without you present? Without
me present. Now, there's certain criteria that they have to meet to have me not present at that meeting. There has to be imminent danger.
What was the emergency that the guardian ad litem and your ex-wife, or your
Still,
yeah. What was the emergency that they brought up before the court, and that the court gave them permission to do this to you?
There was 2 issues. One of the things that they claimed is that I disparaged my ex in front of my daughter, which did not happen.
So the courts can actually take a child away because of disparaging in front of...
That's what the term they use. Is that written in statute? I believe they say there's abuse. There could be psychological or emotional abuse. I think it's only natural somebody can be upset at an ex-partner and something may come out, but to take a child and to teach that child your mom is evil, your father is evil, that's very negative. I mean, has my daughter been in earshot when something may have been said? I honestly, it's possible.
So in other words, if you have an argument.
If you have an argument and you get upset and your voice gets raised.
Right.
But the part 2 of the emergency motion was they claimed that I was a flight risk, that I was going to take my daughter and flee the state. Was
there any communication with you and your wife that you planned on doing that?
Not at all. In fact, I mean, I'm a homeowner.
Was this a trumped-up charge then?
I believe I've uncovered where it came from. I was in Facebook communication with my father, who lives down south. Him and I were corresponding back and forth. In fact, there's actually printouts of Facebook conversations that they have in their record. Only me stating that I'd love to come see you, Dad. You've got 3 beautiful grandchildren. I'd love for you to meet them someday.
And what you told me off-air earlier was the fact that your father's in stage 4 cancer.
That's correct.
And he's never seen the grandchildren.
He's never met his grandkids.
Okay.
And, you know, I would still love for them to meet their grandfather.
So you go to pick up the children, or your daughter.
My daughter.
And all of a sudden you're met with this order saying?
Basically saying that I am no longer allowed any contact with my daughter. The staff who gave it to me, I mean, these are generally awesome ladies. I trust them with my child. I drop my daughter off there every day. We're on great terms. The court put them in a very awkward position. The
Right.
court wouldn't notify me they took my daughter. They left it to these innocent individuals that care for my child. I mean, that is not
How long
outright.
ago was this?
That was December of 2010.
2010. Now we're in 2012.
Correct.
July.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, Kevin. Let me say that was December of 2011. It's been a year and 8 months or so.
so, okay. So within this year and 8 months, how often have you been able to see your child?
Well, there was a transition between the ARC supervised visitation center, which took away my supervised visits. Just to backtrack to that a little bit, the entire visits, they're videotaped. So there was a discrepancy. I claim my daughter was dragged from the room. The ARC center gave their visitation notes to the guardian ad litem that claimed that my daughter ran from the room screaming for daddy. I mean, frankly, that doesn't add up. Why does someone run from somebody calling for them? For 4.5 months, I read letters to the CEO of the ARC Visitation Center. No response, no return phone calls. Finally, I followed the money a little bit. United Way funds them, in part. I called the CEO of United Way. I used his name. I got a call back the next day. They told me right from the get-go the director of the ARC Center was demoted and that they were going to give me my visits back. And I said I'd still like to sit and watch the video because there's a description making me look derogatory. They set up an appointment. I went down to view the video with the new director and the CEO, sat down to watch the video. Lo and behold, it disappeared. It was deleted. It was something that vindicated myself, and they watched it, and they knew.
Why were you having supervised visit? Was that a court order?
That was a court order because they
Based
claimed
on
it was
whose testimony?
There was never any testimony. It was a motion or an ex parte motion that hearsay was presented to the court. The judge signed it without asking for any kind of...
Was there a hearing?
My daughter was taken on Thursday. I was given a hearing on Monday to answer to it. When I went to the hearing, I received the guardian ad litem report on Saturday. I'm reading this thing going, where did this come from? Where did these made-up, mythical things happen? I go to court the next day. There was no chance to prepare, but I asked the judge for a full evidentiary hearing. I said, these are bogus allegations. I want a full evidentiary hearing. Judge John Arnold, in writing, in the response, said that I would have a full evidentiary hearing within 30 days. At that time, I was crushed. I mean, 30 days without seeing my daughter? How can I do this? Within 3 weeks, I was given a notice of hearing, which was 4 months out. So there was no hearing within 30 days. It was moved to 4 months. At 4 months, John Arnold apparently retired, and it was extended again, and a new person was assigned to my case.
So in all this period of time, your daughter's not seeing you? You're not seeing...
4.5 months, I saw her twice with supervised visits, and then it was reinstated again at about 9 months. I saw her 6 more times supervised. Then it transitioned to 6 hours unsupervised.
And based on what?
They claimed I was a flight risk. Again, I'm a homeowner, a business owner. I have 2 other children in this state. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. It was just...
Who was the guardian ad litem?
Her name is Sheila Gerbach. She's been doing this for about 25 or 30 years.
Did you sign a contract to have her
I
as the
did.
guardian? Was that under duress?
I wanted to make the court know that I wanted to cooperate. I had nothing to hide.
Did the court say you need to sign this contract if you want to see your child?
They did not. They didn't necessarily say that. But when they offered to assign somebody, and when I read the stipulations and things of the guardian ad litem contract, it said this person would be assigned to represent the child, her best interests, and this person would diligently investigate. I was asked to supply 3 references, 3 witnesses. None of those people were ever contacted.
May I ask how much money you paid to her?
I just received another fee cap increase last week. She's asking it to be raised to $4,500.
All right. You know that the statute in New Hampshire is $1,000.
Yes.
All right.
I've objected to every fee increase. I believe I'm guaranteed a hearing. I've never been invited to a hearing. And it went from $1,000 to $2,500 without any kind of even notices.
Did you get any type of submission of the work that was done? Or was it just the bill?
There's a billing statement that comes out that I've received multiple times. And
did she ever bill in advance?
I have not detected that. Okay. I know the guardian ad litem report was about 8 pages, and I counted, 87. I call them blatant lies. I mean, that are easily provable. One such statement in her report is that Mr. Bryans claims that a hair follicle test was ordered previously. Nowhere in the court records is that found. It took me about 3 minutes to go down to the courthouse, and they pulled out a file with the judge's signature with the hair follicle test ordered. So I mean, there's so many inconsistencies in a report. I'm basically paying her to fabricate a report that there is no investigation taking place.
Has she had an interview with you?
She spent 45 minutes with me one day with my daughter.
Did you see that report?
I never saw the report. I received the report a couple of days before the court. I actually received it the day before the ex parte. It was the first time I had any idea of where she stood as far as her opinion of me and my ability to be a father.
Was there any sightings of imminent danger?
There is no imminent danger.
Okay. Did she claim that there was an imminent danger?
I believe the exact words were concerned how Mr. Bryans will react and concerned that he may flee the jurisdiction. Now, so there is no imminent danger, just a speculation that what could possibly happen.
Is she a trained psychologist or?
I believe she's one of the few that's actually not an attorney. She's strictly a guardian ad litem. Been doing this again for a number of years. I'm not aware of what kind of training she has. I mean, if she became a guardian ad litem through a correspondence course, I have no idea. But it's a person that has a lot of authority and a lot of pull in the court.
Right. So this person basically took your child away from you based upon hearsay.
Exactly.
Without an evidentiary hearing.
Yes.
And it's been over a year and 8 months.
Yes. There's been 4 administrative delays. Cheshire County Court is under a lot of scrutiny right now from some other cases going through there.
Let's talk a little bit about child support. Now, I know these are sensitive issues, and you basically said that you are now behind a little bit. Mm-hmm. You're self-employed.
Yes.
The emotional trauma that you're going through, not only with the divorce itself and trying to work it out, obviously there are very, distressing parts to that you're dealing with.
Yes.
And then to couple that, you're separated from your child based upon hearsay.
Yeah.
You are a small business owner.
Correct.
And there's a retroactive child support order. So all this time that your child is taken away from her original home with her father, the clock's ticking.
Right.
The money's adding up.
Yes.
And you're basically unaware of this. So then you go to court for a type of hearing, and the judge says, by the way, you owe this amount of money based upon this time that has elapsed.
They backdated it, yes.
How much were you in arrear because of the backdating?
From the beginning, it wasn't that much, a couple $1,000. But to start into that as having problems with the business, my business was, my wife functioned as the bookkeeper, the accountant, scheduler. To suddenly have a situation where, I'm mom, dad, cook, bookkeeper, scheduler, trying to do a juggling act, my business suffered from it. Being self-employed, my latest tax return was done in 2010 when I had to provide proof of what my income was, the only thing I could base it on was 2010's tax return.
Which
That
was an okay year.
It was actually a good year.
Right.
I mean, I had a fully supported with my wife and I working together to create an income. I mean, my bills were paid, I was caught up with everything, supporting. My wife had a 14-year-old son. I had three. I was taking care of 4 kids, a wife, and 2 big dogs.
And then a big element of a partner leaves the business, leaving you strapped. So now you're doing a huge juggling act and kind of falling behind the cracks, plus all the emotional trauma that you're going through, being separated from your child, and of course from your wife.
And of course, trying to make the court happy. I mean, I began to do.
Did you have to sign an affidavit, a financial affidavit?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so now you have this going, and business is sliding. Do you feel that you have to prove why there's not this income now?
I anticipate that coming up.
Right.
I really believe, because I'm only behind $1,200. I mean, it's, when times are good, I would make that in a week. I mean, right now I'm lucky if I make that in a month. There's a lot going on in my personal life, including I have a 2-bedroom apartment that I rent. The tenant hasn't paid rent for 4 months, so that's a big part of my income. That's been taken away. I'm getting the threatening letters that if I don't catch up, they're going to take away my driver's license. If they take away my license, I can no longer function as
Who's going to take away your driver's license?
This comes from the Department of Cost Containment, DCYF, it's part of them.
They can take away your driver's license?
According to the letter that I received.
Did they state a law?
I don't believe they stated a law. They're the party in charge of collecting child support.
So let's see. They take away your child, then they get you backdated so that you're in the arrears. If you don't pay it by a certain date, they'll take away your license, which is your ability to make an income.
Absolutely.
And so this just keeps going, the snowballing effect.
And not to, if you got a Kleenex, I'm about ready to cry here, but they...
Am I getting this right?
You are. I'm behind on my mortgage. My house is about to be foreclosed on. I'm receiving threats from Office of Cost, or DCYF, that they're going to take my license. My children have been taken away. Everything that I was not, I was a responsible, hardworking father, loving my children. The court has created me to become this person that is basically very close to becoming homeless and unable to provide for my family without a license. I'm becoming everything that they claimed I was almost 2 years ago, which I wasn't then.
In addition, listening to your daughter crying in the other room, saying, I want to see Daddy. Now you are able to see your child to some degree. What, 15% of time? Or
I haven't calculated the exact. I filed a motion for restoration of unsupervised visits.
Right.
The judge asked me to do 6 more supervised visits, which in this time it actually, I believe the second visit, my daughter came into the room, looked right at me and told me, Mommy doesn't like you. I looked at the director, he looked at me, looked at my daughter, and I said, I'm very sorry to hear that, sweetie. What game would you like to play? Didn't want to go there with her. And that's now documented, through the ARC Center. So while it was a supervised visit, in a sense, there was some positive note-taking that came out of it. I did my 6 visits. It transitioned to 6 hours a week that I get my daughter, which is odd because one of their allegations for the ex parte is that I'm a flight risk. I don't know about supersonic planes, but you can get a lot of places in 6 hours.
Still no drug test, though, huh?
With the ex? No. No, they won't. She was drug tested and results came back positive. The guardian ad litem claimed they're negative, but in her own notes, her own discovery provided to me, it shows it was positive. The judge's original...
Was that in evidence to the court?
My case has been delayed 4 times. There has been no hearing, no evidence has been presented. When I went to court for that motion to restore supervised visitation, The judge gave me a half hour. I picked 3 things from the guardian ad litem report, and that was one of them. And I called her on it. The judge reacted by giving me 6 hours a week back with my daughter.
Based upon the fact that your wife failed the drug test.
Failed the drug test, and the guardian ad litem lied. I mean,
And
so
you
I
only got
managed
6 hours.
It didn't go back to the initial 4 days a week I had previous. They gave me 6 hours a week is 24 hours a month. That's, I don't know what that is.
Do you have an
2 or
attorney?
3%. I've contacted attorneys. They want between $10,000 and $15,000. The New Hampshire referral service basically doesn't exist. I mean, you
So
don't
she
get
gets
calls
a
back.
pro bono lawyer, but you don't get a pro bono lawyer.
I don't. I mean, I'm reduced to representing myself, and again, I know appliance repair. I don't know the law, but I do know morals, and what is going on is not right. And I've been driven to continue to do the right thing. I want to believe in America. I believe that people are innocent until proven guilty, that this doesn't happen.
You want to believe in the court system.
I want to believe in the court system,
Yeah.
but I'm learning there's a big difference. There's certain factions of our government. You as a representative, part of the legislative branch, that's us being represented. The judicial system seems to have its own agenda.
It does. We're seeing this often. We're in the Redress of Grievance Committee. We're seeing where orders are being dismissed. Actually, it was Judge Arnold in the Vandenberg case waived an order.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how a judge is allowed to do that. It was founded. It's documented.
Yeah.
There are other cases where in the Johnson case, where it was recently founded, and I don't understand why the media doesn't have enough guts to start talking about this. The Johnson case, one of the last parts of the finding was the fact that the courts are actually guilty of the child abuse it claims to be protecting the children.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk a little bit about despised litigants. It was brought up in the conversation just a little while ago. What is all that about?
A despised litigant, I believe it's just my opinion, but somebody that has been so wronged by the court that will go to any length. Personally, I could care less about my house. I could care less about my nice car I had. My children are my focus. I'll give everything up for my children. I mean, if it was a fit tent to live in, and that was, if I had my children, that's where I'd be. I mean, I think they need the love and the nurturing and a home.
But it doesn't seem like the courts are very interested in both parents having equal time, does it?
It doesn't at all.
Right.
And I will fight this thing, and I will stand up and speak up and expose the failures of the court to do the right thing. When you start to do that, I've been very vocal. I've been up to, I don't know, 6 of the redress hearings. I'm learning because I'm preparing myself to present my own case. There's been grievances that have happened already, but I've yet to have my day in court. I want to have the benefit of the doubt that the judge is going to do the right thing once the evidence is presented.
When is your court hearing?
My court hearing is August 6th. Oddly, last week, my last hearing was April 9th. My mother flew out to New Hampshire from California to testify. Several people showed up to the court to testify. 15 minutes before the hearing, the court clerk called me. The judge had called out sick. This is after 4 times of being delayed already. What does this mean when the judge calls in sick? The clerk said they tried to call the backup judge, couldn't reach anybody. Nobody could give me any kind of answers. Here we're going on 3 months. I haven't heard any sort of rescheduled date. I go to the court to ask for some copies of paperwork and brought it up to the clerk. Have you guys rescheduled my hearing date? She handed me a piece of paper. My hearing date was rescheduled April 27th. I never received any kind of hearing notice. I mean, it's scheduled for August 6th. The judge ordered it April 27th. I've never received it. Had I not gone to the court and asked about it, I may have missed my court date, and I can't imagine how that would have
So
looked.
you were not properly notified?
Exactly.
They didn't docket the case when you went there to the clerk's office.
I know people that have gone into that court from beginning and their case is now over, and mine is still, it's filed before and it's still going on after. I know the paperwork's being shuffled and my case is not something they really want to deal with.
Why?
Because there's a failure of the judicial system to do the right thing, and I personally have my own documentation, and I just don't believe they want to deal with it.
Do you think by coming on the show it will jeopardize your case?
I believe it's a very good possibility. I know every motion that I filed through the court claiming that the guardian ad litem is fabricating things and not doing her job.
Can you document that?
Can I document?
That she's fabricating things?
There's multiple lies, things made up in her report, and I've systematically itemized them and can show proof and evidence that the things that she's claimed are untrue. Absolutely.
Did you ask to have her dismissed?
I have not. The way I understand the legal system with the guardian ad litem, she cannot be dismissed unless both parties agree. It can't be one person wanting her dismissed. Obviously, the other side doesn't want her dismissed. I mean, this person is working for her. It's literally like she has two lawyers. I'm on the opposing team, and it's all against one.
A pro bono lawyer and the guardian ad litem that you're paying for.
Exactly. Now, the guardian ad litem is supposed to work for the child. Just the simple fact that they filed a joint ex parte motion, to me, it means they colluded together.
Correct.
And kept me out of the loop. There was nothing given to me like, hey, we're concerned about this. We need to ask you, are you planning on leaving the state? It could have been simple to say, well, no, I'm communicating with my father who's sick, and I would like to go see him.
Right.
With or without my children, I'm going to do that.
Right. And he has stage 4 cancer, like you said.
This was just realized just a couple of weeks ago.
And I'm sorry to hear that. And he's never seen the grandchildren.
He's never met his grandkids. You know, and,
if somebody wants to, help you out as far as being a pro bono lawyer or help you out in your case, how can they get in touch with you?
I have a Facebook account, Ed Bryans. I also have an email account, edbryans@yahoo.com. I'm part of a lot of fellow people that are being harmed through the court system. There's a group of us that have bonded. We've got together a couple times for a barbecue and a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
We communicate regularly.
This isn't the angry dads type of syndrome going on here. This is basically where multiple people are complaining about courts separating parents, not just fathers, but
Exactly.
parents, from good parents,
Mm-hmm.
from their children. This isn't just harming the parents, this is harming the children.
It's harming society.
And it's creating this lack of faith in our judicial system.
Absolutely.
Because they're not following rules, they're not following orders, and they're not following statutes.
Mm.
They're not listening to the children in that, I want to see dad, I want to see mom.
Yeah.
But they're going by these so-called professionals who now, meaning the guardian ad litems, who now have a quasi-immunity.
Judicial immunity.
Judicial immunity. Now, that was just recently passed down by the Supreme Court.
So the judges have it, the guardian ad litems have it. We're going against a stacked deck. I mean, they can say anything, and then there is no recourse. There is no.
So for malfeasance, the Supreme Court orders said that these guardian ad litems, if they're lying, it doesn't matter. They retain quasi-judicial immunity. Police officers, firemen, people that work for the state don't get any of this quasi-immunity. But a professional, if you will, guardian ad litem who supposedly represents the interest of the child can go to the court, ask for more money and more money and more money,
Yeah.
which says there's a self-interest.
Mm-hmm.
They can keep padding their wallets
Yes.
in the interest of the child, keep that child away from the parent, and get...
Keep it in the spin cycle and keep litigating and dragging it on for a year and 8 months where I'm at this point. And I'm an infant in this. I know other people have been dealing with this for 5, 6, 7 years. It just continues.
So we need to fix this, obviously.
Yes.
Well, I wish you the best at your hearing. Is there anything that that our viewers can glean from this? Is there something that we can learn?
What I've learned, and it's you go through stages with this. First, there's the shock and disbelief that how can this happen? Then you become angry. I mean, I believe there was probably a stage where I was a mad dad. I wanted to point fingers at the acts, the system, gender bias. I mean, that goes through. I mean, most of us are dads, and there is definitely some problems with some gender bias. But through this, I've met several ladies that are going through the same thing. So I realize this is an attack on families. We're good parents. It seems to me there's a lot of statistics that children that are growing up missing one parent. Girls are growing up to be teenage pregnancy. Boys are getting involved with drugs and alcohol and dropouts in school. That happens even in the most ideal family, but there's definitely statistics to show that children growing up in a single-parent home are more susceptible to that.
Right, and I believe there's some federal statute that says that in the best interest of the child, it is good for 50-50 parenting.
Yeah, that's the ideal.
And New Hampshire seems to be an exception to that. They feel as though, you know, we can do what we want here. And
I even believe that it's even written in New Hampshire laws that that is the ideal situation. That's what we should strive for. I mean, if right from the beginning, I was involved last year with the House Bill 591 that was introduced.
Which was tabled by Family Law, the committee. We tried to get that off the table.
And I hope it's coming back.
Well, we are going to try it. If I get re-elected, we'll see what happens. But if we're going to try to reintroduce that. But that would force the hands of the court to give 50-50 parenting, provided there's clear and convincing evidence that one parent is adjudicated.
Or absent any kind of abuse or
Right.
neglect. I mean, you need to have that clear as convincing. There is none, not speculation, not hearsay, not made up things. It needs to be a hearing.
Right now, if you're an attorney in New Hampshire and you want to file a complaint against an attorney for lying or for malfeasance in the courts, recently, in the last couple of years, it's been changed that you can file a complaint. It used to be through the preponderance of evidence. You know, there was this preponderance of evidence that there's malfeasance. But that rule was changed to clear and convincing evidence. But if you're a parent, there doesn't even have to be a preponderance of evidence. It can be hearsay. Based upon hearsay, your child can be taken away from you. In the Johnson case, that hearsay ended up in a sealed envelope. And Mr. Johnson was not allowed to see what's in that sealed envelope, and his child has been taken away from him for over 2 years. I don't mean to discourage you, but we're seeing a problem here and a pattern throughout our entire family court system here in New Hampshire.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to be preachy either, but
No.
we have to remedy this.
And
people have to be aware.
There's a lot of people, there's a lot of us parents, and I left my email address. If there's anybody that's going through any of this, a single voice is hard to be heard, but we're joining together. There's a group of us that are participating in coming up to the State House, holding signs. We just had a Thomas Ball event, a 1-year anniversary of his death. Thomas Ball is a man that self-immolated in front of the Cheshire County Courthouse after 10 years being deprived of not seeing his child. There's just a lot of things out there. There's people that are genuinely stepping up. You, Kevin, are an incredibly strong voice, and there's a lot of talk out there with re-election campaigns, and I understand to get elected, you are an incredible strong force in this correcting the rights of families and children.
There's
We
also
need you in the
judicial
State House.
child abuse. There's
That
I
site.
believe that's actually, he's not a representative yet, and he's running for Senate.
Running for Senate, Josh.
Youssef, who's going to be a strong advocate for families. There's other organizations out there. Lawless America is actually doing a documentary
Yes.
Nationwide. We want to get the story out. I want to close on CACR 26.
Yes.
This is going to be on the ballot this year, and I've been preaching this since we've had this show. We've been trying to get it through the House. It went through the House. It went through the Senate. It was a compromise with the Supreme Court.
Yes.
It is now on the ballot, and we're asking people throughout the state of New Hampshire, when you see CACR 26, please check yes.
Absolutely, yes.
It's vital that you get your voice back. Otherwise, the courts will not be accountable to you through your legislator. You need to check yes if you want the courts to be in check. If you want your voice to be heard, please vote yes for CACR 26.
That is the one thing that I am going to be up at my local town voting booth that day, holding a sign for CACR 26. That's more important to me right now than who I vote for president,
Right.
for anything else. That is huge to personally affect me in this family court area. The CACR 26 is critical.
Right. Well, we want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us for Speak Up. If you find this show is of value and you want to be a sponsor, please contact me at speakupnh@gmail.com or write me a letter at 68 Bartimus Trail, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063. That's 68 Bartimus Trail, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063. We need to get the word out, and we need to keep this going. Please help. Thanks a lot.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandal and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.